Hi guys, welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to talk about ways that you can reset, recharge, and renew for the summer and for the rest of your life. So we're going to talk about the step-by-step process to do your own little short, fun summer cleanse. And before we jump in, I just wanted to say hi and welcome everyone. I know that you're super busy and time is usually the time of the year where we re-energize, reconnect with friends, take time for ourselves. So I'm really grateful to see all of you here. And what I would like you to do, if you see the chat box on the right side, if you could just say hi and let me know where you're from. We had over 600 people register for the webinar. And I know some of you will be watching it live. Some of you will be watching it as a recording. If you're watching live, that's the opportunity to ask questions and get them answered. So it would really be interesting for me to know where you're joining us from and what are some ideas about, in general, cleanses or digestion that you have. So maybe some experiences that you had with a cleanse before, or if you have any questions related to the digestion, just type them up in the chat box, and I'll try to get to all of them once we get to the Q&A part. So we have some people from Vermont. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Anne. I have Atlanta, Texas. Great. Well, I'm really happy that you guys can hear me well, and we have a lot of information to cover today. So we're going to jump in, and I'm going to make sure that I go back to the questions and keep seeing what you're posting in the chat section. So I see we have Michelle from Miami. Hi, Michelle. I spend a lot of time in Miami, so I'm happy to see you here. So let's jump in. So basically what today is about resetting, recharging, and renewing your body. And as a result of that, you'll see that stubborn weight can shed, all the sabotaging behaviors, all the digestive issues, including bloating and constipation. And as a final result, all of those things will help you, hopefully, to create a more harmonious relationship with the body. And what I found is a lot of us feel that we're stuck where we are right now. And it's really important to learn how to get out of that rut, how to get out of that feeling of being stuck, so you can really start enjoying your life, start feeling light in your body, and hopefully from there do things that you want to be doing, because I know that each one of you has a bigger purpose in life, and it's really impossible to act on that purpose or on that mission if you're not feeling your best. So making sure that your body is in the best condition, that you have the most energy, is really the first step to living a fulfilling life that's filled with self-realization on a daily basis. So in today's webinar, what you'll learn is tools that you can use to eliminate persistent bloating and release unneeded weight. And I know that persistent bloating is an issue for a lot of women, even for people who follow a pretty healthy diet to begin with. We'll go over some of the tips that I usually share with my one-on-one clients, and that's about losing the weight without starvation or without the willpower as much, because a lot of the cravings that we experience, and that for a lot of people, they think that you need strong willpower to overcome those cravings, are in reality just the chemistry processes in the body. So once you adjust those chemistry processes, you don't need to use your willpower as much. We'll also talk about why healthy digestion is a key to a vibrant and fulfilling life, and what you can do to improve your digestion. We'll cover some healthy foods that might be keeping you hostage to weight and digestive woes, and we'll talk about what other foods that would help you to restore your digestion. We'll talk about step-by-step process to beat sugar cravings, and then cover some key components of a successful detox that you can do at home. So the tips that we'll cover today I used for myself and I used for my clients to help them break free from weight issues, persistent bloating, endless sugar cravings. And my goal is to give you the tools so you can finally eliminate persistent bloating and release unneeded weight. I do want to make sure that you have something where you can take notes. So whenever we cover something useful or you have that aha moment, so you can write it down. There will be a recording, so if you have time, you can always go back and watch the recording. But it really helps to write down some ideas on a piece of paper or on your computer so you can go back to that tomorrow and start acting on those. Because again, knowledge is the first part, but you actually have to implement things. So knowing things is not going to change your body. It's a matter of changing your day-to-day processes, and that's going to give you the results that you want. Also, one of the reasons I just wanted to share with you why I created that webinar is that I know that working with me one-on-one is very transformational but pricey, and today's insights is something that I use for a lot of my one-on-one work. So people pay thousands of dollars to work with me one-on-one, but I know it's not for everyone. So we'll cover some of the core tools that help me get rid of the bloating and constipation and get handle on compulsive eating. And we'll also talk about what other of my clients found helpful, and you'll be able to implement those tools in your own day-to-day life. So before we get into all of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about my story so you have an idea of what's my background, who I am to even tell you what to do. And then we'll get to talking about specific tips on digestion and sugar. So I think some of you might know me quite well from my blog. Others of you might be meeting me for the first time. So whether we know each other or not, I do welcome you here, and I want to share a little bit of my story. So my name is Nadia Andreeva, and I'm the author of Happy Belly, Women's Guide to Feeling Vibrant, Light, and Balanced. And that's a book about digestion and emotional eating, and the use of Ayurveda, positive psychology, habit change to improve the way you feel in your body, starting from simple changes that you can do in your diet, going into a more visionary approach to changing your habits in your daily living. But before I wrote that book, several years ago, probably almost 9 years ago, I was in a very, very different position. I graduated from my university from my master's degree in psychology, and I felt very stressed out by basically, as all graduate students do, having to find a job, working in the internship, trying to pass all my exams, and having been working almost full-time throughout the whole university and studying full-time, trying to get good grades, I was putting a lot of stress on my body, as I think most of us do in our day-to-day life. And then my body was reacting to that stress with digestive issues, predominantly inability to digest a lot of foods, bloating, food sensitivities, constant fatigue, chronic constipation, and then over time it developed into psoriasis at the back of my head, and PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And when I went to the doctor, the solution in his mind was simple: take hormonal pills to resolve the issue, and eat more fiber, have some apples, and your stomach is going to be fine. But it didn't work. So I put all my effort, all my time into trying to find the solution. I started reading a lot of detox books, trying lots of different diets, um, trying to eat more fiber, trying to eat wheat germ, trying to have yogurt, not trying to have any dairy. So I went through a few years of experimenting to find out what actually my body needed. And even going on that various healing diets, trying various nutrition theories, what I didn't realize is my relationship with my body and with food was not healthy to begin with. And that often led to a cycle of restriction and then over abusing food, or disconnecting and overthinking about diets and being too strict with myself. There was not even a possibility of allowing to listen to my body or giving it voice, which led to a lot of those problems to begin with. And as a result of trying so many various things over a short period of time, my digestion became even worse. So sometimes I wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom for 3 days, had to make myself pretty disgusting fiber drinks, and travel with some super high probiotic yogurts everywhere. But thankfully to Ayurveda, thankfully to a lot of my teachers that I met on along my path, over time, I was able to resolve the issues. And one of the keys to resolving the issues was going back to a very simple, easy to digest, nourishing diet that took out all of the foods that were hard to digest. So fast forward 7 years, I found a set of tools that help me stay balanced, strong, light, motivated, clear, and full of energy, even with my pretty crazy traveling schedule and teaching schedule and working with clients. I'm not in any way on a restricted diet. I can't say that I use a lot of willpower in my diet. I usually allow myself to enjoy whatever I want. And I do put specific effort into listening to my body on a daily basis and making decisions about food based on what would make my body feel well. And I think one of the things that allowed me to get to that point is once your body is clean of toxins, it becomes a lot easier to hear the voice of your body and to become a lot more in tune. So this idea of you have to listen to your body, yes, you should try to listen to your body. But when the body is filled with toxins, when the body is sick, when the only foods that the body knows are sugary and full of carbs and some processed food, your body is affected on a chemical level, and that's the foods that the body is going to crave. So when you are under stress, when the body is toxic, you can't listen to the body. It's kind of like listening to a spoiled kid or to an animal that's unhealthy. Because in the wild, the animal that's healthy, he'll know what he wants to eat. But if you put rats or any other animal in a confined environment and give them sugar, they'll become addicted to sugar, and that's what happens to our body. Our body carries a lot of wisdom, lots of like centuries, millennia of cellular wisdom of what is good for our body. And when we go back and reset and renew and go back to that point zero, it becomes really easy to hear what your body needs to stay healthy. But to do that, you need to go through a period of that resetting, of revamping your diet for a while, letting your body cleanse, letting your taste buds reset, and then going back to that intuitive eating. It's really hard to go back to intuitive eating if all you're craving is constant sugar. So that's some of the strategies that we're going to be talking about. Let me move on to the next slide. So I just wanted to make sure that again, to prove you the point that what we're discussing today is super effective, that it did work for a lot of people. So one of my recent clients, we did a little test. I wanted to make sure that the program that I was putting for you does work really well. So some of my one-on-one clients did the program before I put it in the webinar form. So Martha has been working with me for a while, and this is something that she wrote to me in the email after doing the cleanse. So she said that I did a guided cleanse with Nadia 9 months ago after going off my birth control pills. And so a lot of women that I work with, they do have hormonal issues. My goal was to help my body reset and finally get rid of bloating and recurrent yeast infections. After 2 weeks on the cleanse, followed by a simple clean eating plan, I felt that my body was totally transformed. After years of struggling, Nadia helped me understand my body and my digestion. I could feel and trust my body on a completely new level. I knew what foods my body needed, and this new sense of intuition and trust transferred over to other areas of my life as well. Not only I'm so much healthier, but my bloating is gone. I also lost some weight. And a lot of people who did this simple cleanse had very similar results. So, and I can say the same way. When I do it, I always feel much lighter, and it becomes so much easier to be in tune with my body. So, with your permission, I just want to jump into the content and start covering digestion. I do want to remind you that I try to put as much transformational information in there, as much useful guidelines as I possibly can. And towards the end, if you feel that it's a little bit overwhelming and you want step-by-step guidance, I will tell you a little bit about my 14-day online course that you can just, it's something that you can do in your own timing. But before that, let's talk about digestion. So I'm gonna hear some other clients, but yeah, let's try the digestion, and I'm gonna check in and see what you guys are asking in the questions. Okay, so I hear that everyone, can you guys make just type up and let me know if you can hear me okay, because I see that some of you are saying that the voice is echoing. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. Anyone? Can you guys let me know on the right side in the chat if you can hear me okay? Okay. Okay, so let's go into digestion. So digestion is important because pretty much everything in your body is determined by how well you assimilate the nutrients and eliminate the waste. The beauty of your body, the skin, the hair depend on the health of your gut. There's also immune system that depends on the health of your gut. All the emotions, anxiety is very much connected to the health of your gut and microbiome as well. And you'll see that why it happens more once we get into it. One of the digestive experts who has a big following and is considered one of the top experts on digestion says that a well-functioning gut with a healthy gut flora holds the roots to our health. And just as a tree with sick roots is not going to thrive, the rest of the body cannot thrive without a well-functioning digestive system. And it's totally true, because if you think about it, each cell in the body, it has to be made out of a new material. And the way that material is made is through the food that you get. So a lot of people nowadays have digestive issues. And some symptoms of imbalances can be constipation, acid reflux, poor sleep, excessive gas, IBS, headaches, chronic colds. I also want to add that anxiety oftentimes is a sign of problems with digestion as well. Digestion is a very complex subject. So it begins in your mouth and then continues through all the organs until basically your colon, and each one of those organs has to function properly. The body has to make sure that it assimilates the nutrients, that it gets rid of all the toxins, eliminates all the waste that is not being eliminated, and only then you will be able to thrive. Your gut flora is one of the most important things to understand and consider when trying to get rid of bloating or trying to work with your emotional issues, including anxiety or foggy mind. Okay, I see, guys, that you're saying that you can hear me clear. Perfect. So gut flora, and there's more and more research coming about gut flora. It's a very complex subject. Men and women, for example, have different gut flora. People in various societies and tribes and countries will have different gut flora based on what they're eating and their stress levels and their environment. But basically, it's a complex of microorganisms that live in your digestive tract. But you also have various flora in your mouth, for example, in your nose. But gut flora is specifically in your digestive tract. You have over 100 trillion bacteria living in the gut, which is kind of crazy. And that bacteria determines your metabolism, energy production, the quality of your nutrition that your body gets, and which genes will be expressed. So which of your family genes will be expressed. There must be a good balance of good and bad bacteria in your body for a healthy digestion. And there will always be some bacteria, but you have to make sure that it's not thriving. And one of the things to know whether, for example, is your bloating is bacterial is to check in and to see how does your stomach feel when there's no food in it. So first thing in the morning, is that bloated even then? And that might be one of the signs of bacterial flora being not that healthy. Good bacteria helps your body to absorb the nutrients. It helps to keep your immune system strong, so prevents infection and disease. It decreases food allergies, helps with digestion, so it prevents bloating. It helps to regulate body weight. So there's some research that's completely fascinating that shows that if you transplant stool from obese mice to skinny mice, then without changing the diet, skinny mice will start gaining weight. And the reverse is also true. So the bacteria in the gut will determine your weight in quite an impressive fashion. It also helps with inflammation as well as nutrients and vitamins. So it's really important to take care of the flora, and I'll tell you how to do it. Another thing that's important to keep in mind when you're thinking about improving digestion or resetting digestion is leaky gut. So leaky gut is increased intestinal permeability, and is often the result of damage to the intestinal lining. And one of the things that can lead to leaky gut is some foods that are present in our day-to-day diet. But some of the ways that leaky gut can show up and what it can lead to is sensitivities to a lot of foods, including gluten, GERD, IBS, allergies, heartburn, autism, IBS, Crohn's disease, and lots of mental disorders. So from autism to ADHD, all of those issues have been linked to leaky gut. Some of the symptoms of a leaky gut is fatigue, food sensitivities, inflammation, common colds, low immune system, anxiety and depression, adrenal fatigue, inability to lose weight, and skin problems. So foods that disrupt gut flora and can lead to leaky gut altogether. So we have antibiotics, poor diet that's rich in hard to digest foods. So in Ayurveda, hard to digest foods will be different for every different person. There are some foods that are pretty general though. So bad food combinations, for example, when you combine hard to digest grains, like gluten heavy grains, for example, wheat, with anything that has dairy in it. So any sort of a sandwich is going to be one of the hardest things to digest, especially if you have sandwich with some sort of a dairy, like cheese, and then some sort of a processed meat, and then bread. So all of those three things will be difficult to digest, and as a result, much more likely to cause leaky gut. Any sort of a heavy pasta dishes that again combine both dairy and gluten. Usually if you eat a salad of wheat berries once in a while, that's probably not going to be as much of an issue as having lots of bread, or having a burger or having a sandwich. So our body usually can tolerate small amounts of heavy to digest foods. But if you are exposing yourself to those foods 3 times per day, let's say you have a little bit of gluten in your breakfast, a little bit of gluten at your lunch, and then a little bit for your dinner, we can say you're having, for example, some breakfast cereal for lunch and then a sandwich for, cereal for breakfast and then a sandwich for lunch and then have a piece of bread for dinner, then you're exposing yourself to something that's very difficult to digest 3 times per day, and that it makes it very, very aggravating for your digestive system. Chronic stress affects both the bacteria in your gut, so it will literally kill the good bacteria, and it can also likely lead to leaky gut syndrome. Environmental toxins, digestive distress, and toxic overload, which partially can be through the cosmetics that you're using, because your skin will absorb everything. So what do you do to improve gut flora and help along with a leaky gut? So if you were to, for example, do a digestive reset, what you can do for 14 days at home is add probiotics, add prebiotic foods, add fermented foods, and make sure that you're getting enough rest, so reducing stress. And now we'll look at each one of them in detail and then talk about some foods that would be worth taking out. But before we get into that, one thing that I want to mention is that it's really important to make sure that when you go on that 14-day plan for yourself, and I'm saying 14-day plan arbitrary, you can make it a 7-day plan, you can turn it into a 28-day plan, whatever works. We're just discussing simple rules, and I think 14 days is enough for most people to feel a very significant difference. But it's really important that during that time you eliminate regularly, at least 1 to 3 times per day, and you want to make sure that in general your elimination is a habitual thing, as a way to detox and eliminate waste from your body on a daily basis. So improving your digestion, improving gut flora, do an elimination diet. And in a program towards the end, I'll introduce you, but basically you want to take out hard to digest foods, which for various people is going to be different, but you want to make sure that you take out some of the main heavy to digest foods, especially that now is the summer and our body doesn't need a lot of heavy foods to stay warm. So the diet can be much lighter. So you want to take out bread. You want to take out anything that contains gluten, because wheat traditionally was meant to be a winter grain, a grain that we use to keep us heavy and warm and grounded in the wintertime. In the summer, because there's so many vegetables and fruit, the grains usually would be a much smaller part of our ancestors' diet. Why bother going to the field and looking for little tiny grains and going through the whole trouble of cooking them, if you can enjoy grasses and plants and vegetables and berries that are growing abundantly in this period of time. So seasonally, summer would be a much lighter fare out of very fiber and water-rich diet. You would also eliminate dairy at this point. So I'm not saying that dairy in general is bad. I think, for example, raw fermented dairy can be quite wonderful. But for the period of 14 days, you would take it out. You would also make sure that soy and corn are out of the diet, just because they're mostly genetically modified and can be quite difficult to digest for a lot of people. And another item that you would want to take out is sugar. So you have 5 foods to focus on to make it an elimination diet, just a simple elimination diet, which would be dairy, corn, soy, and sugar. Then you would want to add a good quality probiotic, and I'll tell you which ones. And then you eat a simple combination of food that decreases congestion. And if you don't know what's a hard to digest combination, what's an easy to digest combination, if you go to spinachandyoga.com and in the search box on the right side, search food combining, there's quite a few articles that will guide you through the main principles. But in general, some of the ideas of what could be on your plate is quite simple. It can be vegetables and some sort of a grain. So you can have some salad or roasted summer vegetables with, for example, quinoa or millet. It can be vegetables and protein. So you can have some vegetables and a piece of fish. Or you can have some vegetables and some lentils or chickpeas. And just making sure that you add spices if you're eating legumes, so legumes are well digested. You can also have some vegetables and fats. For example, adding some avocado to your salad, or making something with hemp seeds, like hemp seed tabbouleh. And all of those things would be very easy to digest because there's not a lot of things mixed together. In terms of adding probiotics, some good ways to add probiotics to keep your, again, healing your gut, help your gut to build in new healthy bacteria. So a good way, so because I said that we have good and bad bacteria all the time, pretty much in the gut, you want to make sure that your gut is flooded with good bacteria, just flooded with it. So what you can do is add fermented foods. So miso would be the only exclusion out of soy products that you can have a little bit, but you have to make sure that it's organic, so it's not genetically modified. You can have coconut kefir. You can have sauerkraut. You can get lacto-fermented vegetables that are not pasteurized. You can have kimchi, Bio-Cult, Good Belly, yogurt. Again, I would prefer to have non-dairy yogurt for this period of time, but if you really, really want to keep dairy in your, let's say, 14-day detox, you can have a little bit of regular, good quality organic yogurt. But again, all you need is just a couple of spoons. So consuming probiotics and prebiotics are essential for healthy gut flora. You need both to build new bacteria. So taking a probiotic daily on top of eating those foods will help to rebuild gut flora. Whole Foods has great variations. One of the favorite ones, Eco Cultured Coconut Water Kefir, tastes amazing. I highly recommend you try it. It's inexpensive. You can find it at Whole Foods. You can also get regular probiotics. Dr. Hira is a good one. Garden of Life, Primal Defense, PB8. But pretty much anything in a fridge section will probably be a good one. The ones that are not in a fridge section, Dr. Hira and Claire Labs are great brands to try. Hold on, just take a sip of water. Okay, so Prebiotics are important to help your good bacteria to grow. It's not enough to just eat probiotics, because once you're there, you want to make sure that good bacteria has something to feed on so they can grow, and that's where prebiotics come in. Prebiotics are non-digestible foods that move through the digestive system and help the good bacteria to grow. So you want a combination of probiotics and prebiotics. And some of the prebiotic foods are apples, chicory root, artichokes, dandelion greens, garlic, leeks, onions. So if you have a tendency for bloating, I would be careful with a little bit garlic and onions because they have sulfur in them. And traditionally, for example, if you're doing an Ayurvedic cleanse, those would not be included in the cleanse. But if you're doing a functional medicine cleanse, those are usually fine. So just pay attention whether you can digest garlic and onion. And then asparagus. Those are great sources of prebiotic foods. Chicory root can be a substitute for coffee. So if you are used to coffee, you can just mix it with warm water and have that as your way to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So we covered some aspects of taking some foods out and then getting all the good bacteria into your stomach, into your colon, and then from there, making sure that you eat prebiotic foods to feed that good bacteria. But one important aspect that's really, I think, essential to talk about and address is sugar, because a lot of people, without even realizing it, they're addicted to sugar. And I just want to make sure that I check in with your questions. So Carrie asked, what are some inflammatory foods to be careful of? As I mentioned, those 5 foods would be probably one of the most inflammatory foods. So we have gluten, dairy, corn, soy, sugar. Sugar is one of the biggest ones, and we'll discuss it right now. Also, for a lot of people, it might be caffeine. So Don was talking about candida overgrowth in the gut. So that's a whole big topic. I would definitely start by making sure that all the foods that you eat are very simple combination of foods, very easy to digest. Definitely taking out all the hard to digest foods that can irritate the gut. Taking a probiotic, eating prebiotic foods. Stephen is asking, why not kombucha? I would say most kombuchas does have a lot of sugar, and a lot of people, because they drink a whole bottle of kombucha, it will get their stomach bloated. So if you want to drink kombucha, make sure it's plain, doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, and drink just a little bit. Even with coconut kefir, you don't drink a whole bottle, you just drink 3 tablespoons at the most. So when you drink kombucha, I would say keep it to a pretty small amount. And Carrie was asking, what is bad bacteria? So candida is one of the examples of bad bacteria, but in reality, because we have so much bacteria in our gut, there are many different ones that can be bad. It will depend on your gut and your personal food, and the only way you can identify it is with a stool test. So again, guys, if you have any questions, you can type them up on the right side, and I'll be checking with those questions once in a while. And now I'm going to talk about sugar. So most people don't realize how much sugar they consume daily, because it's hidden in a lot of processed foods. It's hidden even in a lot of healthy foods. And sugar is a toxin. It leads to digestive issues, to blood sugar imbalances, to fatigue, to even diabetes. And some of your favorite foods, like pretty much anything in Starbucks, contains tons of sugar. So just to give you an example, caramel brulee latte has 52 grams of sugar. Frappuccino contains 63 grams of sugar, and the venti has 82 grams of sugar. So those are some just outrageous amounts of sugar. But even some healthy things like a kombucha or an apple juice, those things have a lot of sugar too, that in nature, if you imagine yourself kind of running around in the field and living in the forest, you would never ever have access to. And while sugar gives you a quick fix and gives you a quick burst of energy, it has a negative impact on your health in the long term. And ditching sugar is not only about the willpower. A lot of it is about emotional aspect as well, and dealing with a sugar addiction in a very smart way. So a lot of people, when they think of what's one thing that they can't give up, it's going to be something that involves sugar in a way. So for a lot of people, it's going to be cheese. So that's dairy, but that's cheese is a whole interesting topic, because it does make you addicted almost in the same way as heroin does. And sugar is another big thing. So whether it's chocolate for you, or juice, or bread, or some sort of pastry or cookies, usually it involves sugar. So we need to deal with the sugar addiction aspect, making sure there are no nutrient deficiencies that lead to sugar cravings. It's really important to have good strategies that allow you to handle stress, to manage stress in a good way, and then nourishing yourself in other ways besides food. So I would like to just think of one thing for yourself. What is a daily source of pleasure in your life? For a lot of people, food is a source of pleasure in their day-to-day life. And if there is nothing that's fun or happy or nourishes you on the emotional level on a day-to-day basis, then of course you're going to go to sugar or something that just makes you feel like you're enjoying it. That's why I'm saying that it's really important to address the issue of how are you nourishing yourself besides food, and include that in your daily life. So regarding sugar consumption, as I mentioned, a lot of us are consuming more sugar without even realizing it. So in 1700s, the average person consumed about 4 pounds of sugar per year. Then in 1800s, an average person consumed about 18 pounds of sugar per year. 1900s, consumption grew to 90 pounds of sugar per year. And in 2009, more than 50% of all Americans consume one half a pound of sugar per day, which translates into a whopping 180 pounds of sugar per year. So when I found that data for my book, it just seems unbelievable that our consumption grew from 4 pounds to 180 pounds in 300 years. So when I talk about, imagine our ancestors running around in the forest, our ancestors running around in the forest probably consumed, the only sugar they consumed was from fruit that would appear only in the summer. So their sugar consumption was probably zero, and they had carbs just from root vegetables and fruit. But to think that we are consuming 180 pounds of sugar per year, it's pretty astonishing that we are still able to function properly and our body is not falling apart. So our body is very adaptable, but it does make sense to look at the amount of sugar we're eating if you do want to go back to the optimal digestion, to the optimal level of energy, and balance your sugar so you can effortlessly reduce your weight. So all carbs, including grains, including root vegetables, they contain some sort of sugar, but processed sugar is very different. It's highly refined. It doesn't have any vitamins or minerals. It has a very strong effect on our blood sugar, gives us the sugar rush. Sugar rush is often followed by a crash, and blood sugar drops abruptly, and that leads to cravings, to both physiological cravings and neurological cravings. Um, Chris Kresser, who is an amazing practitioner who has a book called Paleo Code, he says he does lots of research. So all his articles are very well supported by research, and he says sugar feeds cancer cells and has been connected to the development of cancer in breast, ovaries, prostate, rectum, pancreas, lung, gallbladder, and stomach. Sugar can also cause lots of gastrointestinal problems, including acidic digestive tract, indigestion, malabsorption, and increased risk of Crohn's disease and colitis. So I think it's pretty clear that sugar is not your friend. But it's really important to understand why you would take it out. So besides gastrointestinal problems, it can increase your likelihood of having food allergies. It will slow down your weight loss, even if you're eating healthy sugar like agave-based desserts. It will feed inflammation in your cells and suppress the immunity. Sugar accelerates aging process, that's for sure. Increases anxiety, makes you moody, so your mood is all over the place depending on your blood sugar levels. It can complicate ADHD and all other mood-related, kind of a mental state-related disorders. So what can you do? First of all, become a sugar detective. Expect everything that you are buying. Read the labels. Look for hidden sugars that are derived from sucrose. So usually it's going to end on O's whenever you're reading in the labels. You are allowed to have some healthy sugars. Again, not too much of it, but you don't want to take everything sweet out. Think of limiting it, but still enjoying it in small amounts. So honey is a good choice. Coconut crystals, because they're not deprived of the minerals and vitamins. You can have some stevia. Brown rice syrup can be an option, and xylitol, if you make sure that it's derived from birch. So it has to be derived from birch tree. But it's also important to address sugar cravings. So you have your list of safe sugar substitutes. So you're making sure there's no processed sugar in your diet. But then what do you do to kick your sugar cravings? Here are some ideas, and you have to experiment and see what works for you. So in the program that I will describe in a little bit, we guide you through the process of nourishing your body so you can beat your sugar cravings. Here I'll share some simple strategies. So eating a healthy, high-protein meal. High protein doesn't mean that you need to eat meat all the time. No, you can get plenty of protein by adding hemp seeds and having lentils or chickpeas, but you need to make sure that there is some source of protein in your meals. Eat foods that are rich in B vitamins, loaded with good bacteria, such as coconut kefir, yogurt, raw cultured vegetables, miso. Chivita is a great option. It's also low sugar because they use stevia in it, and some of it is made with coconut. Kombucha can be a quick pick-me-up. Just make sure it doesn't have too much sugar in it. Coconut water is loaded with minerals, great to hydrate the body now, especially because it's summer. So coconut water is very good for reducing inflammation in the body, balancing blood sugar levels, and it has a little sweetness to it. So if you have a craving for something sweet, coconut water can be a great solution. Sometimes nutrient deficiencies in the body will get people to have sugar cravings. So oftentimes it's chromium that we're lacking, or magnesium. So you want to make sure that you have those in your diet. You can, again, increase protein in the diet, whether it comes for you from meat, fish, nuts, seeds, or eggs. You can also see if you can add plant-based protein powder. So if you feel like you don't have enough protein in your diet, you can always look into having maybe a smoothie with protein powder mixed into it. So Vega Plant Fusion, those can be good. chromium is one of the things that helps to balance blood sugar levels, and you can get as a supplement. You can also get it through brewer's yeast, oysters, onions, eggs, chicken, apple. Ghee is a good option, bananas, and spinach. So making sure that you are using those elements that your body needs to regulate blood sugar. You also want to make sure that you're not focusing on things that you can't have, but instead focusing on things that you can have and that will feel you, make you feel nourished and satisfied. So you can have scrambled eggs with spinach and brown rice tortilla. You can have Ezekiel bread with almond butter and sliced banana as a treat. Dairy-free yogurt or gluten-free granola and fresh berries can be a nice treat. Smoothie with raw cocoa and cinnamon. It has magnesium, and cinnamon helps to balance blood sugar levels. Those treats can be nice additions to make sure that you're not feeling deprived during the time when you're just helping your body to restore and heal. So it's not about going into this restrict and then binge mode. It's about how can I nourish myself to the point that I'm not even craving the bad stuff. So some simple strategies. If you decide to do at home a 14-day committed, let's say, reset, renew, recharge period, without feeling deprived, something to help your digestion rebalance, making sure you're feeding your good bacteria, providing all the good probiotics. You want to eat balanced meals that have some sort of protein, have healthy protein, fat, and something green at most meals. So you can say that I'm going to have it for at least 2 meals per day, for example. Use cinnamon to balance your blood sugar levels, and including daily sweetness for the soul. So whether it's going to be a walk in nature, journaling, good music, connecting with friends, having lunch with a friend, spending time with your kids or a dog, making sure that you're nourishing yourself on all levels, not just the food. I know that snacks and desserts is a big thing, and a lot of us think that if we're going on a cleanse, we shouldn't have them. I think you can still include them and enjoy them without making it very difficult for your body to digest them. So anything that's not dry, not crunchy, and not too big in size, I think can be quite a delicious addition to the short 14-day detox. So you can have raw cocoa chocolate pudding, chia pudding, smoothies. So we have a bunch of them in the program, in the recipes. You can have a banana with a tablespoon of almond butter and cinnamon. Again, that's not a perfect food combination, but if you're having only 1 tablespoon, that's your body is going to digest it, and it's definitely going to be much better than having a chocolate bar. You can have a baked apple with some cinnamon and put a couple of, like a spoon of coconut butter on it, for example. And then you can have avocado and blend it into a chocolate with a little bit of cocoa and make it into chocolate pudding as well. Some things that you do need to make sure that you are successful on that cleanse is being present, so listening to your body, taking notes, so journaling, willingness to try new things and change old habits. So whether you decide to do it with me, with a group, or whether you try to do it on your own, making sure you're open to exploring new recipes, trying it out, and then being aware of the patterns that you currently have, and then see how you can change those patterns. Using group support. So maybe finding a friend that you would do it, doing it with a group that we're going to be doing it together, or just getting somebody in your family to do it, because it's so much easier to have accountability and support of the group. Including daily relaxation and deep breathing. So nervous system is essential for a good digestion and for helping your body detox. So taking time, even if it's 15 minutes a day before going to sleep, just putting your palms on the stomach and taking a few slow deep breaths to let your cortisol come down, to soothe your nervous system, and let your body go into that mode of rest and digest. When digestive system is working, when your body is starting to work on internal things and healing itself, versus being in this constantly on mode where you're trying to run away or protect or solve the problem. And as always, I try to remind my clients that patience and willingness to forgive yourself is crucial to long-term success. Sometimes you will have detours, and it's perfectly normal. Start over every single time and just recommit to yourself, recommit to your body. It doesn't matter how many times it's going to take you to get back to the place where you feel comfortable. But just as soon as you feel that you're on a detour, just go back into routine and go back to the routine and recommit to supporting yourself as many times as you need to. So if that sounds interesting, I created a program for you to help you reset digestion and balance blood sugar level. And you can find all the information about it at spinachandyoga.com/summercleanse. And I wanted to make it super, super affordable, so it's only $99, and you get a bunch of materials with it. The program is specifically created for women. It's not that the men can't do it. The recipes are adapted for anyone. But I do have a lot of experience supporting women, and I know that we have a lot more emotional issues going on. So I feel very comfortable supporting women particularly. And it's basically with the goal of making sure that your energy is balanced, that you can easily let go of a few pounds, look younger, reduce toxic load, get your metabolism back into being healthy, reduce inflammation, decrease pathiness and water retention. And our body, especially in the summer, tends to carry more inflammation. And inflammation on its own can make us look like we're carrying an extra 5-10 pounds in terms of bloating and water retention. Those toxins can also lead to self-sabotage just because of cravings, and whether they're physical or neurological. And there's also lots of confusion and lots of conflicting nutrition theories. So my goal was to simplify it as much as possible, making sure that we do address the issue of reducing inflammation while making sure that you're able to enjoy the program. So there's no deprivation, there's no starvation, it's not a juice cleanse, it's all completely food-based, but all of those foods are very anti-inflammatory. They will help your body detox, rest. They're all easily combined. You would have all the recipes and the foods to help you get in tune with your true intelligent hunger, your energy level. So ideally, what would happen is after following this program, you would not feel overwhelmed with food. You would know what your body needs, and you would be able to, again, trust your body to the point that you feel comfortable making a decision on your own. I don't believe that you need a meal plan every single day of your life. I think it's helpful sometimes to help reset, but then at the end, you need to have a freedom-based relationship with food where you can make a choice right in the moment based on what's available to you, and this is the program that's going to help you do that. So in the program, what's included is 11-day guide with all the suggested meals. So we'll take 3 days to prepare and then 11 days to kind of go all in. There's an Ultimate Success Kit that has lots of information in terms of what's required to make sure that you are succeeding on the program or any cleanse. We will have 2 live webinars and Q&A opportunities where I will guide you through breaking through emotional blocks, working with cravings, working with sugar addiction in a more detailed fashion. There's a detox guide, anti-inflammatory recipe guide with 75 recipes that are all based on reducing inflammation, that don't have any of those 5 foods that I said that we should take out. but at the same time, you'll keep feeling satisfied. So you're definitely not going to be walking around hungry. There will be a daily email to support you on your journey, to make sure you're doing okay, to give you that accountability of staying true to yourself. And as always, there will be a shopping list to make sure that it's really, really easy to get what you need to get, and plenty of expert interviews to listen as often as you like, to make sure that you're getting lots of information. So some of the results that women who've done that program before have said is losing a few pounds. It can be 3-5 pounds a week, feeling lighter, having more energy, not having sugar cravings anymore. So really resetting the craving mechanisms in the body, sleeping much better, having a lot less bloating, just because you're taking out all the inflammatory foods and eating easy to digest foods. It will help you create a better relationship with the body, just because of the way the cleanse is structured. So it's not a restrictive type of base of let's go on a juice cleanse and not have any food. It's a lot more gentle, and there will be some exercises to help you reconnect with your body. And as a result of all of that, you'll be able to feel more confident in your body no matter what you wear. So if you want to learn more, I do invite you to go to spinachandyoga.com/summercleanse. And at the bottom, you'll see 3 options. So you can get the option for $99. You can get the option that includes some Ayurvedic herbs. You can also get an option that includes 1 session with me if you think that would be helpful to you. For now, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions, and I'll stay on for a few minutes and answer all the questions for you. So Cindy is asking if she's taking medications that contribute to constipation, what can we do to prevent the situation? So I would really look into what kind of medication it is, because it would be very different based on the type of medication. But if the medication is not permanent, I would definitely take probiotics with it. Look at what kind of easy to digest fiber you're taking. So maybe adding some really easy to digest vegetables like zucchini, blending it into a soup, and making sure you have that as a way to just to regulate your digestion. And then making sure that you have some good quality fats. So even if you're making a zucchini soup, adding some olive oil or adding an avocado to just make sure that your digestive tract is very well lubricated. But I don't think I can give any specific recommendations, because we don't even know what medication we're talking about. What are good proteins that are animal-free? Carrie is asking. Yeah, I answered that question in the presentation. You can have seeds and hemp seeds and sunflower seeds and some almonds. You can also have lentils and chickpeas. So there's plenty of ways to get good sources of protein that are not animal-free. Monique is asking, what are some healthy foods that cause bloating? So some healthy foods that cause bloating, for a lot of people, I think in their mind, they can think that, for example, that yogurts is one of the things that people think that they're healthy, but in reality they can cause bloating. Another thing is any sort of crackers. So whether you're eating kale chips or flaxseed crackers or regular crackers, just because those things are very dehydrated, it will be a lot harder for our body to digest, and as a result, they can cause bloating. Any sort of protein powders, especially if you're sensitive to dairy, whey protein powder can cause bloating. If you're sensitive to just powders in general, especially that is made out of sprouted legumes. So those will be quite likely to cause bloating as well. In general, anything that's drying, so here I mentioned already kale chips, but anything that's granola based. So again, granola is quite rough and dry on its own, so it will make some people bloated. I also have an article on spinachandyoga.com. If you look for healthy snacks, you'll find an article where I'm discussing particularly why certain things will cause bloating and what are good options that will be easier to digest. And Stephen is saying, no, not kale chips. You can still have kale chips. Just make sure that you have some water with them. But having kale chips on an empty stomach with no water in them, and if you're buying regular kale chips that have cashew and a bunch of other stuff sprinkled on them, then it can be difficult. But if you're having them once in a while, that's going to be okay. And Joanna is saying, how about people in South America with beginning winter? So this one is mostly for summer, so I don't think it would work for winter. Yeah, so I don't think it would work for winter. Dawn is asking, can it be bad for the body to drink too much water, hard on kidneys? So I think there is a point, of course, when it will be too much water. And in Ayurveda, for example, if you drink too much water, it can cause too much kapha and weaken your digestion. If you look from a regular medical standpoint, if you're drinking too much water, it can just at a certain point start washing out vitamins and minerals. So I would say you probably know when it's too much water. In general, in Ayurveda, it's advised to sip warm water throughout the day. So not just take a whole glass and drink it in one gulp, but instead have a thermos or have your own water bottle and sip on it throughout the day. And you can make it fennel tea or coriander tea, which are wonderful for digestion, wonderful for preventing bloating. Or you can just slice up some mint and lime and use that. And sip that throughout the day. And then you can have, before meals, you would have a little bit more water, and then wait after meals for about half hour to have more stuff to drink. So you're not diluting your digestive juices. But I think in general, drinking too much water is a pretty rare thing. Just make sure that you're not drinking iced drinks, you're not drinking soda, and drinking regularly in small amounts. Marilyn is asking, how do you prevent bloating from fruits in the afternoons? So prevent bloating from fruits in the afternoons. If bloating from fruits is happening only in the afternoons, I would look into a couple of things. Are you eating it after other meals? So if you're eating fruit on top of another meal, then it's not going to be digested, just because fruit is very quick to digest. So fruit has sugar, and it will be digested basically through your stomach in like half an hour, up to an hour, depending on the fruit. But if you had lunch, for example, and then you have fruit half an hour after that, then you're putting easy to digest fruit on top of hard to digest lunch, and it's going to start fermenting. So fruit is usually best eaten on an empty stomach when you're not mixing too many different kinds of fruit in one sitting. So for example, if you're eating apricots, you're eating apricots. If you're eating peaches, you're eating peaches. And at least 2-3 hours after your meal. So about an hour before a meal and 2-3 hours after. And if you still do get bloated after fruit, then I would really, really look into the bacteria. You might have candida, or just an outgrowth of bad bacteria. Because in a healthy person who has a healthy bacterial growth, fruit on an empty stomach, especially if you're having just 1 or 2 pieces, should not be causing bloating. And then Marilyn was also asking how to best help good bacteria outgrow the bad. You need to make sure that there's no processed food, there's no sugar in your diet, there's no hard to digest food in your diet, and most meals are very easily combined. And then you have a source of good bacteria. It can be probiotic or it can be fermented foods. And that is going to, because you're not feeding bad bacteria and feeding good bacteria, that's going to help to outgrow it. And again, that's a very general recommendation based on knowing you from this short comment without knowing your personal story in detail. So thank you guys so much for joining it. I really hope to see you in the cleanse. I'm really excited for the program, and I'll be doing it along with all the participants. I think it's an amazing program. We've put in a lot of effort into creating it for you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me over Facebook at facebook.com/spinachandyoga.com. I check those messages once a day. And yeah, I hope to see you on the inside in the program. Thank you so much for joining.